I was 22 and just starting out on my own in the real world. I got my first apartment, a car, a job, and I didn't have any more school to worry about, or parents to bother me. However, the one thing missing still was a girlfriend. The serious relationship that I'd always wanted, and I figured it was time to try for one. I downloaded Tinder, and for a few days on my spare time, I would swipe through various girls in my area. I did have a few matches, but none were all that chatty. But one day, I saw this girl that I immediately thought couldn't be real. I had never been so attracted to anyone. I liked her and immediately matched with her. I wasn't even convinced she was real, but for 2 days, we spent all our free time chatting, and I asked if she wanted to go on a date with me. I was nervous, expecting to be rejected or told that it was too soon. But she replied with this: "Why don't you just come over?" Winky face. My eyes lit up, and I immediately replied, giving her my address and asking if she wanted to come over instead. She said tomorrow, 9 p.m. I was insanely excited to finally meet her, and I couldn't sleep that night. Before 9 p.m. the next day, I prepared the nicest meal I knew how to make, and the time finally came when I heard the knock at the door. I went to see if it was her, and my heart skipped a beat to see it was her, and she was just as beautiful in person. I opened the door and greeted her. I was so distracted by her beautiful smile that I didn't even notice the large man behind her, and by the time I did, he had already had his revolver out and had pistol whipped me in the back of the head. When I came to, I wanted to call the police, but I saw that all of my electronics and valuables were gone, including my phone. So I went to a neighbor's apartment and called the cops, but still she hasn't been found. No suspects apprehended. I guess I could say, no matter how good they look, always take them on a couple of dates somewhere else before you let them know where you live.
This happened pretty recent, about 3 weeks ago. Myself and 3 friends were hanging out at a shopping center one evening. We were messing around posting clips on TikTok. Then one of my friends started laughing, and I asked her what she was laughing at. She told me that guy behind us kept staring at me. When I turned around, it was some older guy just watching me. My friends thought it was hilarious, but I found it really weird. Then another one of my friends said she thinks that guy lives on her street, about a few houses down from her. She said that he actually follows her on TikTok. At that point, I quickly got my phone out to check if he was following me, and he was. I had to block him because he seemed a bit creepy. We went to get McDonald's before we went home, and I received a message on TikTok from someone. It was that guy who had been following us. His name was Greg, and he wrote, "Why did you block me?" with 2 emojis. One was a crying face, and the other one was an angry face. He had actually created another account that day in the shopping center. I blocked that account as well, hoping that would be the end of it. I didn't mention it to my friends this time, knowing they would just laugh. That night, I was up late and had Netflix on in the background as I was chatting with my friends on Facebook while scrolling through TikTok. I got up to use the bathroom, and when I returned, I had 3 messages from my friends, all saying the same thing. All were things like, "Who's in your room?" and "What's up with your last post?" I asked them what they were talking about, and they told me to check my TikTok, so I did. It was a clip of my bedroom. It was a clip of someone picking up my phone and recording the inside of my room. At that point, I heard a creaking. Then I heard a man's voice say, "Sorry, please don't scream," and turned to see my You can see Greg is in almost all of those pictures, somewhere in the background. I haven't heard what's going to happen to Greg yet, but I just hope he won't ever come near us again.
I'm about to share with you the creepiest thing that has ever happened to me. When TikTok was just in its early stages, I was a user there. You wouldn't yet see the occasional lip syncing or dancing, and sometimes you would see some things far more terrifying than that. It was a cold December 12th, back in 2017. I was in my room playing NASCAR Heat 2, when all of a sudden, I got a call from my best friend, Jax. I opened the call on Skype and was surprised to hear what he had to say. Usually when he calls me like this, it's emergencies. He told me about TikTok for the first time then quickly asked me if I wanted to prank some people for his YouTube channel. This was out of the blue, but I agreed to it. I downloaded the app and soon got a notification saying that Jax's username has friended you. I accepted it and instantly messaged him on there. However, there was something wrong. He then messaged me to send him my address. This wasn't normal considering he already knew it. We were close friends after all and often went to see each other. Despite how weird this was, I went ahead and reminded him. That's when I got a notification saying that a different username with the name Jax in it had friended me. I got a little annoyed thinking he made another account already. He then called me on Skype, and I answered. His voice suddenly had a more urgent tone to it. He said that someone had hacked his account, and I remember thinking, we haven't even had accounts for a day yet. How did that happen? I asked him how he knew he had been hacked, and he stated that the person who did this was probably the same person who was trying to hack his YouTube channel, something I had no idea about. I then asked him if he had made another account, and read the usernames to him, and he replied that no, which meant the account I gave the address to was not my friend. My stomach twisted into a knot. I hung up and grabbed my phone and locked my bedroom door. I reported the user on TikTok and began to wonder how much trouble I might be in, if any at all. Surely if this was just some hacker, he was only going to prank me. But about an hour later, when I was just beginning to calm down, it happened. There was a sudden banging on the door. It startled me at first, then I picked myself up to go answer it. The moment I had cracked open my door, there was a massive splintering, cracking sound, and then a slam. My heart stopped, and I stood frozen in my doorway. Because what that sounded like was the front door being bashed in. I shut the door and locked it, then hid behind my big beanbag, quickly dialing the cops. I was panicking, having trouble breathing right. Even the operator was trying to get me to calm down, reminding me that the police would be there shortly, but it didn't help. After a few moments, I could hear footsteps outside my bedroom door, and then someone tried to turn the knob. I stopped breathing altogether then, terrified that whoever it was would hear me if I even tried to breathe. That's when the worst happened. The laptop began to buzz with the sound of an incoming Skype call. It was my friend. I could see the screen from my hiding position. He must have been worried about me, but he didn't realize what was going on and had no idea that he just gave me away. That's when I heard fists beating against the wood of the door. This guy must have been huge because I could hear the door being chipped away at, cracking and splintering under his weight and strength. But when I heard the squeak of brakes outside, I prayed that I was saved. The man must have heard it too, and stopped. A few moments later, I heard the sound of rapid footsteps leaving the house, through the back door, I think. Then there was the sound of 2 different pairs of footsteps coming in through the front. They scoured the house, then made it to my room, which was locked. I was too scared to get out of my position to open the door. They even called out that they were the police, but I think I was in shock. Eventually, they busted down the door, and they found me under my beanbag. They took me to the police car while one of them watched me, and the other searched the rest of the house. Whoever broke in was gone, and none of us had any leads on who he was or why he did this. I've talked to my friend about it, but he won't give me any answers or clues. But the police had a theory. Based on his online patterns, they believed him to be a part of a trafficking organization. Hearing this, I was horrified. If the cops did not arrive in time, I would have never been found.
It was the early summer of 2014, and my school had just let out for the summer. My friends had told me about this new and quite popular app called Instagram, and that I should get it to follow up on what my friends posted. It wasn't the first time I heard about Instagram. I just looked at it as another social media app that had no purpose in it. This was the year that the app blew up, so I was constantly getting told that I should download it. After weeks of my friends pushing me to do it, I finally downloaded the app just so they could stop hounding me. I created my profile, added my picture, and gave a brief description about my interests. Hanging out with friends, going to the movies, etc. I followed my friends and decided to create my first post. I didn't want to post anything boring, and at the time for girls, Instagram mainly focused on how attractive you were to gain more attention or whatever. So I took a very casual photo of myself and posted it. It didn't get much attention, obviously, and the only people who liked it were my friends. Keep in mind that I'm not the type of person who is obsessed as to how attractive I was, nor did I even care. In other words, I didn't want to be like most girls on Instagram. Fast forward about a week later, my friends seemed happy that I at least showed some interest in the app and that I should post more stuff if I wanted to gain followers. As stated before, I didn't care about that and didn't take their advice. One night, I was sitting in my bed working on a school project for my chemistry class when my phone dinged. I looked at it and it was from Instagram letting me know that some user named JoshMaster237 wanted to send me a message. My Instagram was private, of course, which was why it was requested. I opened the app and went over to his page. It was just stuff related to cars and motorcycles, things like that. His message said, "Hey, my name is Joshua. I've seen you around school, and I just wanted to chat with you." First of all, I didn't know a Josh, and it was very weird for whoever this person was to be messaging me. I didn't respond to his messages and then blocked him. Later that week, I was in the front entrance of my neighborhood waiting to get on the bus to go to school. It was approximately 6 in the morning and there was barely anyone out at this time. However, I noticed a shady-looking car creeping along the road headed toward me. I thought nothing of it and acted like I didn't see it. The car eventually came to a stop right next to where I was standing. A man I'd say in his 40s or 50s rolled down his window. He was a very creepy-looking man. He said, "Hey, I see you're waiting for the bus. I could drive you to school if you want." I of course ignored him and went on my phone so he could at least get a hint that I didn't want to talk with him. However, he kept asking me to the point where I finally told him no and to leave me alone in a sort of annoyed tone. Unfortunately, that didn't seem to faze him because he only kept trying to lure me into his car. Eventually, my bus came and I immediately got on. Throughout the day, I didn't see him and thought everything was over until that night where I got yet another notification from Instagram. To my surprise, it was the same user that had messaged me the other night. What the message read was disturbing and very unsettling. "You're lucky the bus came in time. I was about to grab you and throw you in the car myself." My heart dropped and I deleted my Instagram page and never went back to it. I didn't tell my parents, fearing I would get in trouble, as I wasn't even supposed to have social media. I never heard from Josh, or whoever he was, ever again, and I hope it stays that way. A friend from school now picks me up from my house, and we both go to school and back to our houses. I don't know what happened to Josh after that incident, but as far as I know, his Instagram page was gone. I'm just hoping he's not out there trying to lure people into his car. I still have thoughts as to what would have happened had he gotten hold of me.